Hey guys, thanks for checking out the Bucked Up Podcast. If you wouldn't mind just hitting the subscribe button, like, sharing the video, we have new episodes coming out every Monday and Thursday. Enjoy.
It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
You have fucked up now. Sorry, I couldn't have helped myself.
I was saying this earlier that my parents, when they first heard that, were like, why is that your intro? And now it's like, if you can't handle that, you probably shouldn't watch the podcast.
Yeah, it's a good way to be like, hey, this is what we're about to be doing.
For real.
I
I really do. And all right, so we're going to see Doug Stanhope tonight.
Yes,
after the recording of this, we're going to see Doug Stanhope. And he's one of the people where it's like, he was one of my favorites, like starting out. And that's why I hate people who get all like offensive for being the point of being offensive. Because
you mean offended?
No, offensive.
Oh,
like,
okay. Oh, you're talking about the actual comics, not
the actual comics who like try to be Doug Stanhope,
right?
But aren't actually Doug Stanhope.
Yeah, like I mean, I would say a lot of them don't understand the intricacies behind it. You know, it's like the same with Alan Fitzgerald, right? Not to bring up a local comic, but it's the same thing where you know, oh, awesome. So you guys are aware of how he does things. It's so funny because like he will say some of the most offensive shit I've ever heard, but it's so clever in how he's saying it that it is funny.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people just think, oh, if you just say this word, then that's the joke. And it's like, no, it's not. Now, maybe they should be given the right to say that to try and find the joke. But that's, you know,
it takes time.
Yeah, it's hard.
I forget who said it. And it's something that people say a lot. But as much of a right as you have to say something offensive, people have the right to be offended at that equally. And when I was younger, like when I first hear Doug Stanhope, and I first got into him, I don't know if I would agree with that as much. But the older I get and the more I do want to be compassionate and learn compassion, I really do care about like not hurting people's feelings in the way where it's like, I'm doing it just because I'm mean, not in the way where it's like, if you're ignorant, you're not getting where I'm coming from.
Right. Like, I mean, I don't like, I feel like I agree with you. Like everybody has a right to get offended. It's really just how do you handle that? Like, do you handle that as an adult or do you handle that as a child? And I think a lot of the problems that people have with those who get offended is they don't handle it exactly the right way. Yeah. You know, like if you get offended at a comedy show, the right way to handle it is not to like interrupt the show for everybody else who's clearly enjoying themselves. Yeah. Maybe just get up quietly and leave. You know, like that's totally fine.
I would love to imagine the person who sees a movie and like doesn't like the movie, so just in the theater they stand up and start yelling that they don't like it. I am very upset right now. I am very upset. I don't like what you're doing.
You go up to the projectionist. You're like, how can you live with yourself turning the dial to make this movie happen in front of us? You know what? Honestly, though, when my friends and I went to go see the Avatar live action movie, I don't know if you're a fan of Avatar: Last Airbender.
I used to watch one as a kid.
We were like, it was one of the shows we loved to watch when we just like would get super high and just watch it. And so when the live action came out, we were all excited, and it was just such a pile of dog shit. Like it was so offensive to us. I almost felt the need to do that. So I guess here I am being a bit of a hypocrite because I guess I do get that feeling. I do understand it. But even then, even when I was 16 and high off my mind, I was like, let's just leave.
I'm not gonna. Oh my! I'll tell this. The worst heckle I think I've ever seen. I saw someone charge the stage at Joe Rogan, but that's not the worst.
By the way, out of all the comics to like charge at, don't charge at Joe Rogan.
I mean, he'll roundhouse kick you right off the
fuck
stage.
You up.
He'll just yell "World Star" and you'll see black.
He has a roundhouse kick so powerful. Fucking MMA fighters go and study from him. Don't charge Joe Rogan.
In 2016. I saw Mark Normand at Laugh Boston.
Oh, that must have been
was
fun.
Before,
Yeah.
it was like 15 people in the audience.
Oh, damn. So it was like right before he kind of blew up a little bit.
Yeah. No one knew who he was
Yeah.
with this. One of the people in the audience was a girl he brought from Tinder.
Oh, no.
And she was not a fan of the show within 15 minutes of it starting. And he was like, he's like, I brought you here. Like, I can blame a friend, but it's like, this is my fault. And he has a joke. I don't know if he does it anymore, where he goes, girls love saying Lena Dunham is beautiful until you compare them to her.
That's a pretty good joke.
And the girl was like, that's not true. He's like, what? Like, you look like Lena Dunham, very beautiful. And as if she didn't hear the joke, got so upset. Got so fucking upset and like left. And then after the show ended, I had talked to him beforehand, but I was like trying to get a picture with him. He's like, he's in the bathroom hiding from her.
Right,
in the men's
because
bathroom.
he does not want to do
like,
this.
Hey, come back in here when you see you're gone. Like, that's the worst heckle. But he brought it upon himself.
Oh, but it's so funny for him to for her to just fall into that too. Like, it's so much fun when a heckler falls into a bit.
Oh, 100%.
Just so perfectly. But
I had someone yell when I first started comedy. I had someone yell, "Get this Jew-haired motherfucker off the stage."
Oh man, all right. How do you even handle that one?
He was wearing a Good Charlotte t-shirt, so
Okay.
I let him have it. No, Al Christakis was right next to him, and he was so nervous. He was like, "Yeah," and ran off.
I had a heckle resolve itself once, which I always thought was fun. So like, I did this joke that they were barely paying attention to, and so if you don't pay attention to it, it does sound offensive. It's fine, it's whatever. But as my show, like as I progressed, this one table just started getting angrier and angrier. Like, they were still just festering on that one joke. And so by the time I'm like doing like my main punchline, like my main bit, right? She just starts going, "They're not laughing because of you." And I was just like, motherfucker. And I'm like about to say something because she just ruined the fucking pause of the bit and the whole deal. And then this one drunk asshole was like, "Yes, we fucking are." I was like, all right. I didn't even have to touch that.
You just high-fived him and walked off the stage. You handed the mic to him and walked away.
Thanks, buddy.
I had a woman when I first started. I would do mixed open mics on Cape Cod, and I like mixed open mics because no one wants to hear comedy.
Yeah,
especially when they're at a dive bar.
No,
and it's all drunk people. Yeah. People would throw drinks at me.
Yeah,
like,
and that's that's how you like really learn how to be a comic real quick.
I remember I was dating a Puerto Rican girl at the time, and I had a joke about
dating a Puerto Rican girl. And that's the only reason I think you'd bring it up.
And yeah, for real. Once we broke up, I'm like, I can't.
Puerto Ricans find me attractive.
You started stand up in your relationship, so you don't.
No, actually, I didn't. I started stand up a year before I met Abby.
Okay, so were you ever in a relationship serious when you got out of it, and then you're like, all these jokes just seem hateful now. All the jokes that when I was doing about her when we were together was funny, but when you're not together, you're like,
it's almost Oh, so you're like the jokes about being in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See, I never had that. I had jokes about like past relationships, and those were also still pretty fucking hateful.
Yeah, I just could. Well, see, all right, we both. Do you want to? What you had like a real hallucinogen period in your life.
Yeah. A real serious one. Yeah.
But I feel, do you see it as like a drug problem in your life, or do you come out of it with like compassion or caring for the universe or for mankind?
Yeah. I mean, so I always did consider psychedelics more of a spiritual experience than a party experience. As I got more comfortable with them, there were times when I could, like take a hit of acid and just, to go to a show and enjoy myself. But particularly when I started taking them, I was like, I'm going to learn something new about myself. And this is why I'm doing it. And yeah, it changed me. I mean, I think one of the last times I ever did psychedelics, I was in college and I was looking around my apartment and it was just trash because like we had just done midterms. And your mom did all of your schoolwork for you, but like when real people are doing school, like taking care of your apartment, all that shit goes by the wayside, right? You're just trying to get the papers done. You're just trying to study.
My room always very clean.
Yeah, because you didn't have to worry about that.
That was the order I kept.
So I'm looking around and it's a fucking garbage heap. And all of a sudden, you just get that feeling that you sometimes get in psychedelics where it's like, oh, I got to change this. But what's fun is more often than not, then you get this real excitement feeling in your stomach. There's like, wait, I can change it, which I feel like normally when you're like running through your life day to day, you have that self-defeated part, but you never get the excitement of, oh, I can do something about it. You're just oh, you're a piece of shit. And then you go and do something else.
But that can go wrong when you're tripping. Because when I was in college, and I think it was one of the first times I tripped, it was by myself, and I took way more than I meant to of mushrooms. I was like, I'm a fat, lazy piece of shit. I'm watching TV. So I go for a 4-mile jog in like jeans and a t-shirt. And I'm like, I'm also not writing comedy. So as I'm writing, I'm doing comedy out loud and then laughing hysterically. Just run.
I just love the idea of someone sitting on their porch having a beer and just watch this sweaty fat kid in jeans just being like, so you guys ever get on an airplane?
No, I was more just imagine the sweat. That should be a term for fat and sweaty. Swat. Look at this fucking swat over here. We're starting that. Anyway, imagine the swat running by, and I would whisper my jokes because I was still scared of people hearing my jokes. So I'd be like, so
that's even worse. That's even worse.
Just absolute psychopath.
Did you ever have a moment where like those joggers in cities where they get to like a red light and they just jog in pace? Like you're just sitting there next to some baby some woman with a baby in a stroller and you're just like probably, that's a cute baby.
Probably I was like a horse with blinders.
Jesus, dude,
because you still know what you're doing.
Oh, that's a wild fucking story.
That helped me run though, because now I run. Like I ran today.
And it's crazy how psychedelics can do that for you.
Yeah.
Although you call them hallucinogens. We always called them psychedelics when I was a kid. I will say though,
hallucinogens is such movies fuck it up. Because when I took mushrooms, I thought I was gonna see like purple elephants.
No.
And like crazy shit. You see sacred geometry.
Yes.
That's all you see.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Like,
and isn't it funny how like depending on the drug you take, it depends on like it'll change the geometry you see. Do you get that?
Yeah,
where it's
100%.
Like if you're on shrooms, you will see. I always felt like when I was on shrooms, the patterns I saw felt more natural, like more like of the earth. Where when I was taking LSD, the patterns I saw were a lot sharper, like a lot tighter corners, very clean.
I've only done acid once.
Okay.
Mushrooms I've done countless times.
Yeah.
But acid I only did once. I like mushrooms because it's natural.
Yeah.
Like
I honestly think like if to your 13-year-old listeners out there, if you really want to get into the
they're gonna say to my 13 listeners out there. I have 13-year-olds.
No, well, yeah, exactly. The 1313. That should be a t-shirt. But
I think I would get canceled real quick.
No, but for anyone like who's actually curious to try it, and I know there's like, you can meet people who are like 28, 29, 30, 50 who are like, I've always wanted to try it. Honestly, if you just take shrooms and that's all you do, I think that's the best option. Yeah. Like all the other ones, they do different things for you and they can be more intense, they can be less intense, but shrooms really are the
and
best.
DMT. I like DMT.
I like DMT,
but
too.
I did it once.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the things when I was a kid, I was told that I was lazy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was told that I had an addictive personality.
Well, one of those are still true.
Both of them are true.
Yeah.
But like I was able to quit booze. Like I didn't get addicted to like DMT. Like I wasn't doing it every day.
Yeah.
Like mushrooms I can keep. Like I don't do it a ton. Acid I've only done it once.
Yeah.
Weed I smoke a shit ton of. But I'm also not lazy. And I feel like having those told to me, as much as it sucked as a kid, it was like made me be like, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there is definitely an advantage to knowing who you are as a person. Right. So like I also have an incredibly addictive personality, but it is one of those things where it's like you can't just stop having an addictive person. It's who you are. Like you.
Yeah.
Actually, I was I had a therapist a long time ago tell me like people with this type of personality actually have a larger portion of their brain that receives dopamine. So the levels of dopamine that other people receive that's good enough for them, for people like you actually need more. Yeah. Like you desire more. And so it's like, okay, so if it's part of my fucking biology, like it's going to be really difficult to change. So I've always found like, how do I utilize it to my advantage? Like, how do I get addicted to things that I want to be addicted
to good things?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Crazy that you say that because you haven't listened to my podcast.
I'm just kidding. And I forgot this is a self-help podcast with a bunch of fucking rappers and comedians on it. So maybe I can.
But I did. I'm doing what you do, motherfucker. After this, we're talking about how you love ruining lives.
I do.
You do.
It is a pleasure.
But I do talk about getting addicted to good things. Like I know I have an addictive personality. So like I know if I can force myself into an addiction of yoga or meditating or running, then my body will get addicted.
It'll adjust to it and
that's good. Or the addictive feeling of sobriety.
Yeah.
Being like I do want to smoke a blunt sometimes. I do want a hookah. Yeah. But saying I'm 3 years clean of tobacco and nicotine is like, it's kind of addictive.
It's a bit of an obsession.
Ooh, what number can I get to next?
Yeah,
you know, and we are addicted to numbers as humans.
Yeah. Well, and it is like, that's part of the addictive personality. It's like, it is to some degree an obsession. Like you obsess over things. At least personally, like
but that's
for
what
me
helps
personally.
Me.
Oh yeah.
Just like, I think, you know, as I always say, the pendulum swings both ways and things. Like being really funny or being very happy, like being very funny and like a comedian. Also, you have to get to the other end of the spectrum. Yeah. And that's where our darkness and our like seriousness, maybe not seriousness, but the darkness and the self-hatred comes in. Because
you hate
that's
yourself?
He really hasn't listened to my podcast.
No,
I don't think he's ever met me before. Dude, when you, oh my God, watching you, the reason I asked about the hallucinogens, like, did they make you a better person? When they didn't.
No.
When we were at a different person. Dude, yeah. When we're at that dinner.
Oh, for Mason's birthday.
And you did there was a couple. I'm just gonna give a quick overview and then you tell the story, because there was a couple and they were like, oh, we've been together for 3 years now.
No.
Oh, you remember?
Well, okay. So for the backstory of that is, that was Mason and all of his friends. We didn't really know anybody, but like, good on Mason. He's trying to merge his out of comedy friends with his comedy friends. And so we're sitting there. We don't really know these people at all. And so it's you and me, and we're sitting at the end of the table right next to this couple who, by the way, were very nice people. Very nice. Very, very nice. But so I'm bored. Like I'm just bored. And I know I'm probably never going to see these people again. So what started as friendly conversation, like, hey, how long have you two been together? And, me mentioning I got married, all that kind of got around. So I was like, how long have you two been together? And they're like, what did they say? 6 years. And I was like, oh, so you're married? And they're like, no, we're not married. I was like, oh yeah, Abby and I, we got married after 4. Or it might have been 3. It might have been, yeah.
Did you make up an engagement story?
No, I told him the real engagement story because it's a beautiful story. But like,
Okay.
my favorite part was I didn't lie to them at all. I just told them the fact of my relationship to watch the guy be like, what the fuck are you doing right now?
Yeah.
And the girl just be like kind of giving him a side eye, like, are you taking notes? Because you should be taking notes.
And it brought you so much joy. You look like a kid on
And what's
Christmas.
so funny is I was doing that for myself. I didn't think anyone was paying attention. And then you kind of nudged me and you're like, dude, you are such an asshole.
It was hilarious to watch. You do get, I've seen you in a couple situations where you get joy from that.
Yeah. I mean, I like to just stir the pot a little bit. And you know, that was more mild, but like I do have situations where I really like if I have a fundamental problem with you, or I think, you know, you're stupid, you're hypocritical, with what have you, I will fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll fuck with you in a way where I kind of feel like I know how. Like I've always felt that once you learn a little bit from somebody, like a lot of people who are not, I think, worth talking to kind of fill a stereotype in a way. And I'm not talking about like racial stereotypes or anything. I'm just talking about character arc stereotypes.
Yeah, there's like 12 people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Now, the interesting people are the people who've evolved beyond those kind of like default templates. But whenever you run into a default template, it's really easy to fuck with them. And they're always typically the most annoying people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really nice to get a rise out of them. And I've made a bit of a hobby out of doing it.
Do you have a favorite, or did you ever really?
Yeah.
Did you ever like?
No, I have a 100%. Well, because I went to Clark, right? And Clark is a very, very liberal school. And I'm a very liberal person, but I'm liberal in the way that like I've thought a lot about this, right? Like, and I'm like, I think this is what makes the most sense. Whereas I feel like, and this is the case for everybody with any ideology, there are people who've thought a lot about it. And then there are people who are like, yeah, this is mine. And they just kind of take the tenets of it as it comes without really giving it thought. Yeah. And so at Clark, there were a lot of people who were just liberal for the sake of being liberal. And a lot of those people don't talk to me anymore.
Dude, oh my God. We'll talk about. So I went to Wheaton College.
Yeah.
Which is so like super liberal.
Yeah.
And I have a minor in peace and social justice.
This goes back to what we were talking about, where it's like you can take something very seriously and you can still joke about it.
But I would go in those classes and I am liberal, but I've thought about the stuff.
Yeah.
And I would, oh my God. I remember I had a class called the class was called # Black Lives Matter.
Was it an interesting class?
It was taught by a white man.
That's funny.
And I remember,
I mean, I'm sure he did a great job. I'm not shitting on the,
no, he did. He did. This is why I don't like, it's like, it's so easy. There's such like, I set him up for an easy question that I wanted to see. Okay. I was like, how do you feel about Milo Yiannopoulos?
Okay. Real easy one, particularly for that class, you know.
For real. I was like, he's married to a black man.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Very conservative. And the guy was like, you do not speak that name in this class, like Jesus he's Voldemort. Christ. It's like, all right, if that's what your logic, because I don't like Milo.
I'm not a fan of his.
I get what he's doing.
I thought he said something. He would say things very intelligently, but then
he would push too far.
Yeah, and then when he started talking about fucking underage boys, I was like, you know what? Yeah, you you lose any credence with me when that happens.
To hear him say an intelligent like rebuttal against him, because I haven't really like.
Well, it goes back to like, here is somebody who thought intelligently about tenets of a philosophy and disagreed with them. And whenever he talks about that, I was like, yeah, I kind of like I might not agree with what you're saying, but at least you're thoughtful about it. And then, the whole shit with the
but when I was like
boys, I'm like, all right, well, you know what, Milo, that's on you, dude.
when I was 16, when I went to that super liberal school, I
Yeah.
feel like I leaned
Wait,
more.
you went to college when you were 16?
No, I mean, I guess when I was like
God, your mom must
18
have been really smart.
no, like 18.
She got you to skip some grades, dude.
Never skipped grade.
Yeah, no. All right. So you were like 18.
Yeah, 18. I was the super non-thought-provoking liberal school made me go more to the right because I was like, at least these people. But then you get out into the real world and you're like, oh shit, that's not good at all.
Yeah.
And these people are in a bubble who don't understand. And it's like I did fall more to the left then.
Yeah.
But it's like that having that bubble, that circle that I was in almost pushed me out farther because they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They would say, don't say
They wouldn't
this
even
name. They wouldn't
entertain the
even
ideas. Yeah.
of like, I want to hear a point. Like I like being proven wrong in an intelligent way. Like give me a point that backs something else.
Yeah. And
there were definitely teachers who did that.
Yeah. And I was definitely that to a certain degree. Although, you know, particularly in college, if I had enough booze in me, I wanted to win the argument. So I really stopped listening to the other side, which is a character flaw. But
me too.
Going back to like bubbles, though, I had the interesting experience of going to a Catholic high school in Virginia. So the first people I was fucking with were super religious conservatives, right? Like, and, you know, like debating gays being in the military with people who actually felt they shouldn't be in the military, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And fucking with those people, right? Like fucking with some guy who thought abortion was murder and just fucking with him and like getting into a debate. I'm like, well, you know, if you really believe that, then God is the biggest abortionist in the world because most women who try and have a pregnancy lose it in a miscarriage. And if you think that's abortion, like then that's God, right? That's
you were like a troll. You're the early troll. Yeah.
And so like I came to college literally being like, all right, so these people are the dumb people. And I'm about to hang out with the liberals, and they're definitely the smart people. And after 4 years, I'm like, oh no, they're just most people are just stupid. Yeah. And the real smart people, regardless of how they feel, have just spent time thinking about it. And wherever they land, so long as they've landed in an intelligent way there, I'm like, yeah, I'll respect your opinion. Yeah.
This isn't even like an abortion thing, but it is. There's so many people who are born into like unhappy, like lives that just they shouldn't be born into.
Right.
Where most of those people are, where it's like they're not ready, and then it goes back into the infrastructure, and that's where I think the left is very correct.
Yeah.
Is like the problems in infrastructure in certain communities and things like that.
Oh, I mean, you know, not to get a little conspiracy.
I love I hit one joint and now we're talking about politics.
Yeah.
But what?
Not to get a little conspiracy theorist on you, but I imagine that the incentive to prevent abortion from these political parties is probably not based on an ideological one, not based on morals, not based on religion. I would imagine that the reason they are so opposed to it is because without abortion, you do get what you were saying, just people locked into poverty, right? Like 16-year-old mothers and things like essentially it just traps people in an inescapable environment, which then that group, that the controlling group can use that as their base.
Well, it's like health. It's like health. It's they want it. I hate saying this being a guy with a joint in his hand, and being 24, not a doctor, whatever. But they do want to keep you unhealthy.
Yes.
Like it's an easier way to make money. And that's how everything is. It's a money making thing. But you can learn how to be healthy. Like there's ways to learn.
It's also expensive.
Yes.
It's expensive to be healthy.
But it's also expensive in the long run to be unhealthy.
I know,
because they keep you on.
Yeah, I agree with you. But it's essentially I guess it's called a parable. I'm not entirely sure, but essentially it's the story of the poor man's shoes and the rich man's shoes, right? A rich man's shoes cost a lot more up front, but they will last him 10 years. A poor man's shoes cost way less, but he has to, they wear out every year. So after 10 years, the rich man has saved money because his shoes have lasted 10 years, while the poor man has had to buy shoes every year. Right. And that's kind of what happens in these situations where it's like, yes, it's far more, it's far cheaper in the long run to live a healthier life, but in the immediate, it's, you know, it's not viable.
It's not like buying a cheap car is more expensive because you're gonna have to put a ton of work into it. But I also, so I'm 24 and I get off my parents' health insurance when I'm 26.
When the day you turn 26.
The day you turn 26, which is such like a weird.
You can thank Obama for that, by the way.
No, I know. But it's like, it's such a weird thing because it's like, all right, you graduate. The system that they set up, is that that they want you to set up, not that you graduate college when you're 21, and then you get from 21 to 26
to get a job,
to get health insurance.
Yeah,
and that's such a weird. And the health insurance is, and then it's like en masse. Like I'll speak on Al. Al almost can't leave Massachusetts because if he gets off Mass Health, his medicine will be so expensive that he wouldn't be able to afford to live wherever he lives. And thank God we're in Mass. And Mass Health is great. But like that's not everywhere else.
No, it's when, I mean, the point you're making is that our health care system is fucked. And I think we can all agree with that.
And it is. And that goes back to like when I was younger, when I was in college and I hear all this like super lefty stuff and I go more to the right. It's like, but that's not the universal health care does matter.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It is affordable.
Yeah.
It like,
well, seeing as like, we're the only country out of like the top 26 countries that isn't doing it and they're doing fine. Something tells me we probably could do it.
And we also are a like pull them up by your bootstraps type country. Yeah. But that does create.
Yeah, but more than that,
good stuff, like, but that's not health doesn't play into it.
No, it's like, oh, you're sick. Well, like, you know, just stop being sick. That doesn't happen.
Exactly.
You know, and what, like more than a pull them up by their bootstraps country, we're a country that likes to be the best. So that's what always surprises me is like, wouldn't we want to be number one in healthcare? Like, wouldn't we want to be the best when it came to like everybody having access to all of these things? And like,
but this isn't even a conspiracy thought, but it's like, but it does go back to we are so unevolved where it's like we still do think that if we need to fight, that's what's going to create the most success.
Right.
Like we almost want to
need a challenge.
We almost want to have a challenge.
We don't want things given to us. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like it's how different people deal with it.
How much of that joint have you had? Like
only half.
I just love but I also don't know, man. Also, isn't this a self-help podcast? What the hell are we talking about?
This is a whatever podcast.
Okay, all right.
But like, all right. So you have a job.
I do.
A good job.
I like my job, yeah.
Do you feel like that holds you back from growing?
No.
Artistically?
No. I have a very interesting job where I got this job as a freelancer just because this guy was like 90% of my business already. And I was like, dude, why don't I just come work for you? Because I was getting tired of trying to get new business every month. It's a real pain in the ass when you're a freelancer. And so I was like, you're already paying most of my paycheck. So why don't I just come work for you? Under the understanding is like, you're still going to get the same amount of hours from me. He knew that I was a comedian. He knew that like this is my real pursuit. And so he gives me as much flexibility as I need. I take a pretty severe pay cut in terms of what's competitive in my industry for that. Right. So he gets a huge deal getting someone with my talents for the cost. but in return, I get to go to open mics and shows and like, pop out to Austin, Texas for a week whenever I want to. Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I didn't know that that is like a perfect scenario.
So I met this guy.
You have health insurance? And
I don't get health insurance through him.
Okay.
He has to offer it, but because he has such a small company. Because I work with the owner of the company, because no one else does what I do. There's no department for what I do, so I'm interfacing with him directly.
Mm-hmm.
And then because it's such a small company, he does have to offer health insurance, but he doesn't get the deals that most larger companies get. So I get my health insurance through Mass Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it pulls away from your mental power to put into your art?
You mean like working?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the days that I have to work, I'm far more exhausted. Like I don't really write jokes on the days that I'm working. Cause I write computer code, which is just a complete different way of thinking. I would say there's some creativity to it, but it's not really the same. But in those days, like, yeah, I might go to a show or I might watch a special and, I'll go to an open mic and like do the material that I'm working on. So it might not be a writing day. And before I start working, I always try and write a joke. Like I've been doing that Jerry Seinfeld thing, try and write one joke every day. And I've been pretty successful with that, but like 90% of it, I just throw in the trash. Like it's so garbage.
I ask that because like during pandemic, I was paid through unemployment.
Yeah.
And I was able to like do shit with
work
that.
on your comedy. Yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of like some people didn't do that. Some people got lazy when they were given incentive. So then when I think about like the incentive basis.
You're talking about universal basic income?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some people are going to follow their shit, but some people aren't. It's just like everything else.
Well, it's like that should be their right, I think, at this point. Like there's a bit of a different take, I think, but I honestly think that we have evolved enough to, as a society, to the people who don't want to work shouldn't have to work. Like, I think there's enough people who want to work, and I think we have, maybe we're not there yet, right? Maybe we need a little bit more automation for that to truly be achievable. But, or even if they don't want to work, like at least, or like give them jobs where they want, right? Like you and I are both stand-ups, right? Like that's really what we want to do. Everything else we're doing is trying to help us fund doing comedy.
Yeah.
And the argument could be made that comedy does fulfill a role in the society, like entertainment and things like that. And I feel like we should come to a place in society that allows people to just follow what they want to do as opposed to what they have to do. Right? Like if you really don't want to work that hard, you shouldn't have to. We make enough things, we provide enough service. There's enough available for people to just live the lives that they want. And like, I honestly think that is like the peak of human achievement. Like, how great is it that we literally are so bountiful that people can do whatever the fuck they want to do?
I mean, also, I'm sitting here listening to this shit. All right.
No, give me one more point. Right, how awesome would it be to work in an office with no lazy people? Like, services would be incredibly better.
Yeah, you're going to be working in an office with no people. It's just going to be you.
I think
no, but that's what you ever see Wall-E?
Yeah.
That is what that movie is about. It's like
that's the point they're making. Yeah.
It's like everyone's just going to be like,
yeah, but then,
and this is where I don't even know if this was on recording or off recording that we're talking about like spirituality and stuff. Yeah. But I do feel like there really is a spiritual fulfillment that, this is going to sound so stupid. And people, I hope no one ever cuts this and puts it like 10 years from now. But there's a spiritual fulfillment that capitalism can't fill.
Yeah, 100%.
That working on yourself, working out, meditating, being spiritually connected, being one with nature, going after a pursuit of what your higher power, whatever. Everyone has that one thing that they want to do. Going after that is important. And if people are just given the chance to not do that,
No.
then I feel like we'll be more.
What I'm arguing for is give people the chance to do that. Like you're talking, like Wally was essentially just people who are like, I'm never going to pursue anything. But I honestly feel like what really would happen is if you gave, and there's always that conversation. Money is no object. What would you do? Almost everybody you talk to, they won't say, sit around my house and play video games. Like some of them might be like, I would take 3 weeks off just to fucking decompress. But when you give people all they need, they will find something to fulfill themselves.
Yeah, but literally fucking 20 minutes ago in this conversation, you were like, most people are stupid.
Yeah.
So I feel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about the interesting people again. Like,
no, I know, but that most people are stupid.
Yeah.
And most people wouldn't do. Like, this is so dumb, but I'm thinking about like the kids. Like, if you're born to parents, like if we want to be the best.
Yeah.
If you're born to parents that are just like, they go out to Cracker Barrel. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said that. No, but the most
of your rap audience
when you listen to this podcast, when I say that most people are stupid, people know what I'm talking about. When those people have kids and they're already, and it is that idiocracy, like a thing that America did create a lot of good shit off the back of really horrible shit.
Yeah.
The pendulum swang the other way.
Well, I also think a lot of people...
Not that great shit only can be caused by horrible shit.
I think a lot of people who we would consider stupid also have the capacity to not be stupid anymore. It's not really a level of intelligence. It's more just like a capacity to look in yourself. Right? Like, you're not the smartest guy I know. That's a given. But I would call you incredibly intelligent because you're very self-reflective, right? And I think that's the most important element.
It's funny because, like, my high school, I got a full ride to. It was like 70,000. I think I smoked myself into stupidity.
So the jokes aside, I don't think you're that stupid. No, I really don't. But
that's how I beat you. Is just get real sad and serious about it.
Well, it takes some level of competence and intelligence to like be so self-reflective.
You really think I'm an idiot?
Yeah, dude. The only reason I agreed to do this is because you offered me Stanhope tickets. Like, I'm using you.
Do you want me to show all the text? You're like, hey, can I do the podcast now, man? Can I do the podcast now?
Oh, you thought that's what that was? I was just like, hey, I thought you wanted to do this. Like,
to be fair, I asked the girl if she likes Stanhope, and she went, who is that? So I was like, all right, I'll bring Jack.
I guess I'll go with Jack. What if I was like, who is that? Like,
it would be, but I'm happy we get to do this.
Yeah,
it's a full night.
Fun, yeah.
It would be so rude if I did the podcast with you and I was like, I'm gonna go hang out with another comedian now. We're gonna go.
That wouldn't be that rude. I'd get it.
I feel very like, all right, I was going to do a set tonight.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to a concert.
And probably still eke out a set.
Where? No one wants to listen to
no one wants to. We can talk about this later.
No, but actually, all right. I said this on a podcast a few episodes ago, and I'm changing lanes, but I really do believe this. When I was 16, and I got in a really bad hockey accident, and I found podcasting, and it's changed my life because people would just talk about whatever, even dumb shit like, oh, what mic are you going to hit later? And that to me made me start being like, oh, that's how people think. Oh, that's how I want to think. Oh, I can learn from this. The reason this is a self-help podcast is I know no one who actually is 13 to 16 is listening to this now. Yeah. Hopefully. But also hopefully, I hope one day a 16-year-old who is like me listens to an episode of this and then is like just how podcasters saved my life, changed my life. They hear it and they're like, oh, there's someone else who thinks like me, who also wants to do a podcast, go to a show, and then still hit a mic.
Yeah.
Like, I know no one listened to this who's an adult, really, but like for me, that changed my life.
Yeah.
Hearing that as a kid, that people actually wanted to do that.
Well, and one of the things I love about podcasting is when you talk this long, you notice that people contradict themselves. Right. Like I think you pointed out, like I contradicted myself.
I contradict myself all the time.
And
that political talk was all dog shit.
Well, and I think that is an element of being a human person, is like, you will like, yeah, I hate hypocrites. Right. But at the same time, I recognize that I'm hypocritical myself and I work on trying to change that. But it just goes back to that thing, is like, people are going to contradict themselves because at different points they feel different things. And what are we but just word vomit machines?
And I know you feel this too, because you are an angry man. No, but it's like some people in my past would say, Sam, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. Mm-hmm. And then you'll talk to like other people.
Yeah. They're
and they're
fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
He's a dickhead.
Yeah, and it's like, that can still stand. And I don't blame the people who don't
and
like
they're both
me.
right.
They are both right, because I have been an asshole in my past.
Well,
but the reason this is a self-help podcast is because every day I do try to be my best self.
That's all you can do. And you got to forgive yourself when you're not. You know, but you can't get too good at forgiving yourself when you're not, because then you just become a pile of shit.
No, but I keep saying this and I don't agree with it. So people listening, I don't want them to see this as a bad way. But I say it, and it's in truth, like self-hatred, not self-hatred to the point where it's like you do things to hurt yourself, not in a physical way, but like in your life. But self-hatred pushes
I would pour in like self-discomfort.
Self-discomfort pushes you to be better. Like,
when you're uncomfortable with something about you, and you can love because a big part of it, and that's why I say not hatred, is you need to love yourself enough to take care of yourself. Yeah. Right. Because that's what you're doing. Like, you actually, you're so full of yourself. No. All right. But it's like when you got to love yourself enough to want to change, you know, like when you don't like something about yourself, you need to, it's like caring for somebody enough to give them the parameters to do that change, but it's just for yourself.
But I am selfish, and I say that in helping others is the most selfish thing, because that makes,
because it gives you,
it helps
huge
you
morality boner,
and it helps you. Like, then I want to create a spider web, a network of people. The only reason I do 2 episodes a week of this is when I was doing 1 episode a week, I wasn't meeting enough people.
I got
you. I want to meet as many cool people and then give people like you chances too.
Fuck you, Sam.
I know. I want to meet as many cool people and talk to as many people that my spider web is so big. Like, I'm an only child. I remember.
That's pretty obvious.
I dated a girl once, and this is so sad that it's not true. But when she told me, she was like, my dad's an only child. So when his parents die, he has no one.
Oh,
then
fuck.
I was like, but what about you? Like,
no. That guy's a pile of shit.
So then I was started to think about that. It's like, when my parents die, I'll have no one. But that's not true, because some of my closest family aren't blood.
Did you ever hear about this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Yes, it's on my list of books.
I read like 2 chapters, and it's a great book. You should all.
It seems like you've read 2 chapters of a self-help book and then gave up.
Well, I found it interesting, but it's just like, I hate reading things like that. It just takes so long.
I like the audiobook.
Yeah, I enjoy a good audiobook. So I was reading it, and he got to this section, and it's actually the section that made me put it down and just never pick it up again, because it just got me thinking for so long. And I was like, I need to get out of this idea before I pick it up again. But he was just like, all right, when you die, who is going to be at your funeral and what are they going to say? And I sat on that particularly back then, because I did hate myself when I read the book. Like I was in such a deep depression.
It's just going to be Abby because she doesn't want your family to take the money.
I knew Abby.
No,
like, this is, yeah. I mean, she better fucking be there. No. I love my wife, and but that struck with me a lot, because he's like, that is, it's a way to kind of decide what you want your life to be, who's going to be there, and what do you want them to say.
I had a friend pass last year, and it was my first friend that I was
close person.
Yeah. Like I had a friend, one of my really close friends in high school died, but we weren't close when it happened.
Yeah.
The friend that died, I was close with. And that was about a year ago, a little less. And then this past week, her sister died too.
Damn.
And that one really that one really hit me hard, because I was close with both of them. And I went to the
and they were both hot. I'm sorry, I couldn't. It was too uncomfortable. It was too.
I'm trying to be serious.
No, I'm sorry. Please keep going.
I'm gonna make
really
this even more uncomfortable. I'm gonna make this even more uncomfortable now. But there was a lot of.
I couldn't help myself.
There was a lot of people there that were, hey, kitty cat.
Oh,
She's
hi,
like,
Cake.
she was.
Sorry, yeah, she had to be let out at some point.
She was like,
yeah.
It's uncomfortable now. I need to break this up. But there was a lot of love and outpour there. And not for nothing, but I don't know. When I thought about things like that,
yeah,
I thought of them in a bad way.
Yeah, you're talking about like
services, wakes, and they are horrible and emotional. But now that I'm older and I can emotionally handle those things,
yeah, I
realize how beautiful it is.
Oh yeah,
the outpouring of, and this is so dumb, but it was at 9:30 in the morning, and it did cross my mind, do you really want to wake up early for that? I'm serious. I know it's silly, but it was and I did, and I'm happy I did, because I want everyone to, when I die, have good memories of myself.
Think positively of you.
People make fun of me so much, but one of my favorite shows in the whole world is Grace and Frankie.
I don't know. I'm not aware of it.
It's Lily Tomlin and who's the other?
Can't help you.
Shit.
Because you're literally telling me about this show.
It's about two old women, whose old husbands left each other for each other. They went gay, and now the two women, it's just their adventures. It's on Netflix.
Jane Fonda.
Yeah, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin, and it's such a good show. It really is. It's beautiful. It's funny. It's really good. I laugh. I cry. Whatever.
Yeah.
But they had this scene in it where the two old men, they're gay, and they're talking about heaven and hell, and they're talking about what heaven and hell is, and if they're going to go to hell. And their pastor was saying that heaven is the idea that you leave behind, and hell is the idea that you leave behind. So if a lot of people think badly about you when you pass, then you're going to forever live in hell.
Right, because it's your memory.
But if if there's a lot of love and positivity, and everyone thinks positively of you, then that you're going to forever be in heaven.
Right. And
maybe that's just a silly way, but I do think about that in a real way.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense, right? Because what is the incentive? What are the prerequisites of getting into heaven is being a good person. And then what's the byproduct of being a good person is you live in a positive memory of people after you go. So it makes sense. It's a kind of a cool way to think about it.
Are you spiritual at all? Are you atheist? I feel like you give off atheist vibes. You give off I don't give a shit about anything vibes.
I'm not actually an atheist. I was for a while. I'm more of an agnostic now, just because I cannot definitively prove the non-existence of a creator. Like, there is no way to, I think, prove that, at least with the technology we have now. Do I believe in like a Christian God, right? Even though, I went to Catholic school. No.
No, that's all does.
Yeah. Or if like he does exist, like he better fucking let me into heaven.
I saw Buddha. I didn't see white Jesus. That joke never worked. Oh, it's like, I was in this joke where it's like, I thought I was going to see white Jesus. Like,
it's not a bad bit. I don't know. I had so many, like, actually one of the bits that a joke that I've been working on for a while is like, if like the Catholic people like at my school really wanted me to believe in their religion, then they shouldn't have forced me to read the Bible. Because like the more I read it, the more I was like, this God guy's kind of fucking crazy.
When I was like, you go back, I had this old bit, and I'm not this type of comedian, but when I was like, if Harry Potter was written when the Bible was written, like that's what people would follow. It was like the dopest book for that time.
Who was it?
It was like, that's just the best book.
I don't want to falsely attribute this quote to anybody, so I'll just say it was like one of our smart science guys who's on a lot of shows. But he made this point that really stuck with me. He goes, if all of human knowledge disappeared tomorrow, like the entirety of humanity, and it was just like we went back to like cavemen, science would all come back the same way, but religion would be different. And in that sense, I've always felt true. It's like religion are stories that we've told ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And does some being that exists, is there a being that exists that we don't comprehend that might be responsible for some of the things that happen? Maybe. But this whole sense of like the organized religions and what they like, even if maybe those were started with pure intentions from the original creator that might exist, I think they've been so bastardized to this point that they really don't fulfill any value except for some small sense of community at a local town level.
I agree with
you could have gotten that some other way.
You're bowling. I do agree. I do agree with that about it religion coming back different, but I feel like this goes back to the like there is a spiritual fulfillment, and that would come back the same, and that's what we need to focus on. Or not I think people do need to focus on like getting their fucking self in line.
Well, it's like
so many people are depressed, so many people are sad. And that's real, and are things that you can do to pull yourself out.
I do think religion solves that to a degree. Like you're talking about, spirituality in the sense of self-reflection and self-improvement. Like I do think religion has accidentally done that occasionally. Like, in Islam, you have to pray 5 times a day, right? So that's 5 times a day you spend with yourself, with your own thoughts, right? What is that but not like a sense of meditation? Like they need to introduce God there. But at the same time, it is a point of self-reflection. With the Catholics, they have confession, right? Where they really need to reflect on the things they did wrong. Catholics are encouraged to go to confession once a week. So it's like the things that you did wrong in the last week, right? Which is, again, another version of self-reflection and kind of an attempt of self-improvement. So there are those elements. And I agree with you. I think those elements are important. Do you need to buy into the rest of all of that to achieve them? No, I don't think you do. And also, if I end up, you were talking about heaven and hell, I've always felt like, that's always a big fear. If you're raised Catholic like I was, and you decide to renounce your religion, one of the big fears, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much you rationalize it, one of the fears you have to deal with is, am I going to go to hell for this? Right? Because that fear of hell is put into you early. And so I think I was 17 when I was like, am I going to renounce my religion? I was like, oh, fuck, what if I go to hell? And I thought about it for like 3 weeks, maybe 4. And finally, all right, finally, the conclusion I came to is like, you know what? If God puts me in hell, he's an asshole. And I'm going to want to be in hell on principle. Like, because if he does exist and he created me this way, then he created me to become a person who's not religious.
Yeah.
And so if you make me this way and then I show up and you're like, well, you weren't religious, so you're going to hell. I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. You made me this way.
Because as long as you really do believe you're trying to be your best self, then that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
But you did buy a Hellcat.
Well, she's adorable. Look at her.
I
She's
do
a
want to
little
keep
chicken
talking
cutlet.
to you,
Yeah.
but we have to get to Doug Stanhope.
we have to wrap up. But this is, I mean, I didn't even know what we were supposed to talk about. So I hope this was
great.
Okay.
This is
I
great.
hope I served the role properly.
Don't listen to the Tiny Halls podcast. Don't follow
It's
him
not
at
good.
Lick My Halls.
Lick My Halls on Instagram.
Do you have anything else to plug?
No, just Lick My Halls on Instagram and Tiny Halls on Instagram, and you're good.
Peace out, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.